So the work that I've been doing in grad school has kind of always surrounded the landscape. I did my undergrad at the Art Institute of Chicago and later traveled to Italy for a summer, and that's really where I fell in love with the landscape and the history of landscape painting. And continued that in Chicago for a few years, and then moving to Bloomington experienced an entirely different landscape, one of much more nature and extreme organics that seemed to just kind of take over the neighborhoods. And so I became really familiar with my neighborhood, just walking my dog or kind of rummaging through the woods and things like that. And so the painting subject matter really comes from my neighborhood and just views that I have in Italy, or not in Italy, in Bloomington. And walking through the studio, there may be some Italy in there somewhere, but the stylization that happens in the work comes from working from imagination, from memory, from invention, and some things become representational, some things are more diagrammatic. I look a lot at like pattern type things, either just like LL Bean catalogs or quilt making, Persian rugs, Persian miniatures. I really like medieval painting, modern abstraction, and so I'm trying to take a lot of those influences and fuse them together with the idea of Bloomington as I see it, along with ideas of maybe something more intangible like spiritual content or some kind of an emotional content. And I think I was going to use this one as an example here. This is, the title of this is Dead Ends. And you can see there's a dead end road that kind of just ends in the grass there. There's also a tree that's been chopped down. And this is the only painting where the houses aren't touching each other. And I was kind of thinking of that in terms of like illustrating relationships that may have ended, the impossibility of connecting to another person, but the hope that something new can grow out of that situation. So that tree is sort of like a symbol of hope in the work. I have a tendency to kind of gather and hoard, and visually and materialistically, my studio is just like packed full of stuff, and so a lot of times I end up just sort of looking on my floor and finding something that sort of fits the painting, and that ends up in the painting, and then I kind of paint from that. So you'll see a lot of three-dimensional elements in the paintings, or things that aren't collaged in some way, and that's kind of how those arrive in the painting. And the intent with that is also I'd really like these to be not only like an illusion of a space, but also move into your space as well and become somewhat sculptural or object-oriented. And that's kind of where something like this starts to come into play, where I'm really building more of a three-dimensional world and not just one of like a painting. And you're welcome to kind of look around that. Don't touch it, it's a little fragile, but I didn't glue everything down. But this, I try to work pretty intuitively and just really quickly and sort of make myself laugh. If I laugh at a painting or I'm surprised by something that I do, that I think that's a good success in the work. So I guess I'll open it up to questions. You guys have any comments? Tim?
Yeah, you're a big keeper of sketchbooks.
Yeah.
How are there spots in the paintings where stuff that you've done in the sketchbooks are made into the final work?
I think most directly, like this painting started as just a little tiny doodle, and I really liked the way that it looked, and the composition seemed like something that could grow. And I made a bigger painting, and then a little bit bigger painting, and then I made the biggest painting that I could out of that. And so this painting started from a sketch, and I'll do drawings of the paintings during the painting, and a lot of times just looking at the drawings is a way for me to sort of see like how something can come out of nothing, or how like just this goofy mark can sort of become a tree or something like that. So I would say that's kind of how that happens. Yeah.
Light seems to be the main theme in all works, the primary, overarching main character.
Right.
Have you talked about? Did I miss that part of the talk?
No, I didn't talk about that. Light for me, it's something that I experience in the landscape. There's always the sun is present. but also I think that it links to a spiritual idea of like a presence of something that reveals. And I think that there's usually like a battle going on in some way between what's the light and what's the dark. And I talk about that in my class when I teach painting, just as like a way to model form, or how do you create the rhythms of the painting. But I think that it can become something much more dramatic. And in a way, sort of darkness becomes like the evil presence, I think. And I sort of think of it that way, even though there's still light in the darkness. Maybe that's my way of like depositing hope into the painting somewhere. I think light is really captivating, and it's something that we're all drawn to. And I sort of use it as an element to bring you in, but then something that kind of describes something, or even to obliterate it.
Well, it's handled so idiosyncratically in each one of the pieces, it seems like it's your main device to play with.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it defies logic, it plays into your symbolist logic.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that the most kind of captivating and interesting part of your work. I think it's great.
Thanks. Well, feel free to talk to me afterwards if you have any questions. I'd encourage you to get up to the paintings, take a look, walk around them. I try to put little surprises in them for you guys, so I hope you enjoy.